Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends of Interregional Cooperation, welcome to this webinar of the Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform on enabling the digital transformation regional business support ecosystems. Indeed, as you know better than me, the topic of digitalization is high on regional policy agendas across Europe. And let us be honest, without the possibilities of digitalization, we would not have the possibility to meet here online today. Of course, I'm not alone, but I have an entire team supporting me. First and foremost, you will see them also in 1 minute, our thematic experts for the program priority on SME competitiveness, Luc Schmerber in Karlsruhe and René Tönnissen in Tartu, Estonia, but also in the back office, as I would say, I have an entire team supporting this webinar. I have Raluca Thoma, our communication manager, managing the webinar in the background. Karin, taking care of your questions later on. And Natalia, located in Warsaw, communicating with you via the chat. Indeed, let me thank all colleagues for their readiness to support this webinar. And maybe before we give the floor to our experts, let us briefly do some housekeeping. This webinar will last for an hour, 60 minutes. You do not have to ask, you will get the presentations, you will get the interventions afterwards. Also, the recording of the webinar will be made available online. And in the upper right corner of your screen, you have the dashboard, which allows you at later stage, because this webinar is no one-way street in terms of communication. At later stage, you will have the possibility to raise your questions or to put your comments via the chat. Should you decide to raise your question, please make sure that your microphone is working well. And in any case, make sure that your internet connection is working well. Well, but indeed, let us not spend more time on the practicalities. Let us dive into the topic, into the agenda for today's seminar. I know my colleague Luc Schmerber, he's already waiting in Karlsruhe to provide you with an insight into the agenda. Hello, Luc.
Hello, everybody. Happy to have you all. So normally you should be able to see my screen. I hope that works. It takes a bit of time sometimes for that. So, well, okay. I will, together with my colleague René and with Thorsten and the colleagues in Lille, guide you through this session. Starting first with the agenda for today, very briefly. So we will have an overview of some European policies, mainly the digitizing European industry policy. Not going into details, we don't have time for that. We'll have a look at the digital transformation scoreboard and its different indicators. Probably many of you know about that. Then we will have, this is of course the core of the session, some approaches from Interreg Europe projects. There will be 3 of them, the Device, ISPO and Skills Plus. The cyber project also was planned as a presenter, but due to some delays in transport, they cannot attend, but still. Then we will have some wrap-up from our discussions. If we have time, I hope so, for a minute, short presentation of the policy learning platform and the upcoming activities, which we will be delivering during the next weeks. And yeah, let's go directly into the first point of our agenda, the European policies, which will be presented by my colleague René from Tartu. René, I hand over to you.
Yes, sir. Hello to everybody. I'm René, another SME expert, SME competitiveness expert based in Tartu, Estonia. And our plan was to shortly introduce European developments before going into the level of projects. And we have prepared just a few slides and one video just to set us into the context. And let me try now to share my screen so you would also see what I see in front of me. So if we speak about digital transformation, then it is, of course, the phenomenon and development which touches most of the spheres of life. But in our case, we are most interested what is the impact and results in terms of business development and competitiveness. And if we're speaking about business developments, then of course the digitalization means the way how you make your products and services more competitive, how you change your business models, and how you acquire skills which are necessary to stay in the competition. And this has been a very strong topic of policy actions, both on European, national and regional, local level as well, as you might know. And in terms of European policy makings, then of course the digitalization of European industry is one of the cornerstones of a digital single market, which is one of the key policy development areas at EU level right now, and together with number of other topics which form part of the digital single market agenda. Indeed, on European level, there are a big number of different initiatives which is currently ongoing in parallel, and which some of them might be interest for you. So we would invite you to use this slide if you find anything which is more relevant for you. But we wanted to start this webinar with presenting a real case study or a real life story based on one of the EU initiatives called Vatify. And Vatify is an awareness raising campaign funded by European Commission to support the digitalization of European industries. And let's go to the video now, and I will switch back to Lil then.
Okay, the video seems that it ran well. We wanted to show it because it illustrates many aspects of the digital transformation, as we will also see them later on from the projects. Meanwhile, I could see on my dashboard that the number of participants has increased, so we have almost registered now the full number of persons that were registered. And we go briefly now to the next step, next point of the agenda, which is about the digital transformation scoreboard. Why this one? Because after speaking about digital transformation, we thought it would be interesting because it provides quite a good reference framework to show how it is measured on European level. And so this is done especially for the industry part in the digital transformation scoreboard. And this is about the latest of them, the one from 2018. So we have produced also an article on that, which is available on the Policy Learning platform. But most interestingly, of course, there is the full link also to the report itself. So what does it contain? Some indicators for monitoring the digital transformation. We will come back to that in a slide or two. Quite an interesting overview of national digital transformation policies and programs. A large part of the European countries have now some national programs related to digital transformation, and they are shortly presented in this report, and also some country profile reports. So basically, as you can maybe see a little bit on those, but that was not the intent here to go into details, how the countries are doing with respect to the different indicators. So there are some comparisons over the year, how situation is improving or not. But what we wanted to insist a bit upon is the actual indicators which are used in this digital transformation scoreboard, and they are divided, as you can see on this slide, in two. On the left, the enablers. There are 5 of them, going from the digital infrastructures to the e-leadership. And on the right, the output indicators, which relate directly to the integration of digital technology and the changes in the startup environment. And it is not here the time and the place to go into details into those indicators, but interestingly, the framework is quite relevant also to our activities, and it's so we decided to look a bit at the projects, also the Interreg Europe projects dealing with digitalization. This is the aim of this webinar, to enable you to know about each other's and maybe to start cross-project learning experiences. So we have here listed the projects, Interreg Europe projects dealing with digitalization. The blue ones on the left are the ones in SME competitiveness priorities. So the one we are now really dealing with, and they are the most numerous ones. You can, but there are also some in the other priorities, like the colleague from research and innovation or from natural heritage. So we listed them. There are at least 16 of them. Some other projects are also touching digitalization, as it's a very broad topic. And about half of those projects, they are here today from the participants list. And we'll have also presentations after that from 3 of them, as I mentioned. And if we look at the indicator, we try to make a bit of classification to see which priorities those projects are dealing with. So maybe there might be 1 or two missing, because it's not easy to go into all the details. But still, if you look at the main priorities from reading what the projects want to do, we see that we are addressing quite a lot of the topics from the digital transformation scoreboard, and that we have also some clear priorities, and we'll go back to that. The priorities are mostly on the output side, and but also on the skills and the entrepreneurial culture. So we are looking forward at hearing from the projects what they will tell us, and then enter into a discussion with those projects. So there will be 3 of them, as we announced. The device projects will present first, then we will go into the ESPO project, which is a project with more experiences. The device has just started recently. And the Skill Plus projects will also present. And just as a reminder, we put at the bottom of the presentation the priorities they are dealing with. So we are trying with those 3 projects to cover almost all of them, at least the 4 which are on top of your priorities, actually. And for that, so I give the word back to the studio, to Thorsten, who will introduce the speakers and moderate this presentation sessions.
Okay, indeed, Luc. René, thanks a lot for this introduction, reconfirming, clearly reconfirming the importance of digitalization for regional, national, European policy agendas. As explained by you, Luc, digitalization, the challenges, the opportunities are subject to interregional cooperation. Several projects funded by Interreg Europe addressing this topic. We are very glad to have 3 projects on board for today's webinar. Indeed, besides our studio in Lille, Luc in Karlsruhe and René in Tartu, we are very glad now to call in our colleagues in Ireland, from ERNACT, from the device project. I'm very glad to welcome Colm and Eilish, waiting to share their presentation with us. If I'm not mistaken, Colm and Eilish, you're planning to tell us more about the device project and how you're working on integrating digital technologies into smart specialization strategies, and how also more traditional sectors can benefit from the opportunities of digitalization. Therefore, please do not forget to switch on your mic. Let's see if we can see you. Yes. So welcome, Colm and Eilish. Welcome, Ireland.
Thank you. So you can hear me and see me, yeah?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay. And show my screen.
Yes, we can also see you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Everything's working. Okay, well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be participating in this webinar. And so I will maybe just proceed to give you an overview of the device project. And as you were saying earlier, the project has just started in June, so we really are at the beginning. You can see here the partners in the project. We're a lot to the west and a lot to the east and the north as well. So we have a good mix of partners, including some universities as well as regional and local authorities. There's a total of 10 different regions. So yes, in terms of what Devise is trying to solve, on the one hand, most European regions now have smart specialization strategies, and they're very important because the future wealth, the future development of the region is really dependent on them. And then on the other side, most regions have digital SMEs, or maybe as the Americans would say, tech SMEs. But very often these two factors are not connected. So very often the SMEs the digital SMEs within a region are very much focused on their own narrow market, and there isn't existing linkages or bridges to the smart specialization strategies of regions. So the focus of devise is to be in this space, to try and solve that. And then this slide just illustrates that in a different way. For example, a region could have food, tourism, marine, and medical as smart specialization strategies, and you also have then the tech sector working independently of those sectors. And of course, we just talked about the digital transformation of sectors, and of course the digital transformation of your smart specialization sectors has got to be the priority within regions. So that's that's what we're trying to do. Can we in the project provide a program, a focus where we can bring the smart specialization sectors and the digital tech sectors together within the context of the project. And as we will do this in 10 regions, so we hope it should give some interesting results. So in terms of the formal aim and objectives of devise, we have quite a specific aim there, is to increase the number of tech SMEs improving competitiveness in smart specialization sectors by 15% by 2021. And that breaks down into a number of objectives. Of course, the main objective is to influence positively the policy instruments in the 10 regions. We think that in order to achieve that, we think it's really important to establish digital ecosystems or environments in the 10 regions. Even more important than that is the need to get these 10 environments in the different regions to work together so that we can have very good exchange of good practice, etc. So then in terms of our formal outputs, again, there's 10 regions, so we want to have 10 improved policy instruments, and we want to make a long-term contribution to the establishment of these digital transformation environments in the regions as well, leading to long-term coordination between the SMEs of the digital sector and the non-digital sector, specifically the smart specialization. Yes, we have only started in June. Where we are at the moment, we're working on 3 key areas. The first one is identifying and documenting the good practices. So we're working on that. The other one then is this question of demand and supply in each region. And that's a big part of our work at the moment, and really what we're trying to do there in terms of maybe dealing with the supply first, because that is easier, is that we need to quantify, well, if we have digital tech SMEs within our region, how many do we have? What size are they? What are their competences? Are they in this field of artificial intelligence, web development? So we are making an inventory of that. And then a little trickier is on the demand side, to try and figure out or to evaluate, what SMEs within smart specialization sectors could be good recipients, where that they would be susceptible to taking up from the supply. So that's a really important part. And I, of course, have been involved with my colleagues in the Northwest Regional Authority in Ireland in looking at that question. It's too early to see the results from the other regions yet. And then, of course, all of the partners are involved in the regional stakeholders, the first round of meetings with regional stakeholders. So that's a description of the project and where the tasks that we're working on at the moment. From other projects in this digital transformation field, we would like to hear from your experiences. How you have set this up, particularly with digital and non-digital sectors, because I am aware that digital transformation deals with more things than just the companies. We have the project that's looking at the skills, and we see that as a very important factor. But in general, we're interested in that type of question. And then just your experiences engaging with stakeholders. So that's really my intervention. I hope I haven't taken too long. Thank you very much.
Give me a sign. Yes. Perfect. Thanks a lot, Colm, for this interesting presentation. Thank you very much for sharing your ambitions, the ambitions of the device project with our audience. Indeed, as mentioned earlier, now we would like to give the floor to our audience, having heard about the ambitions of the device project. And actually, Colm, you have made my life as moderator easier because you have put 2 concrete questions on the table, if I recall correctly, on how to involve stakeholders and how to reach out to the more traditional sectors, what we call, or you may call, the non-digital sectors. Therefore, dear participants, now you have the floor. As mentioned at the beginning, in the upper right corner, you have the menu. You can either raise your question or type your comment through the chat. So I suggest that we wait for a moment to see if you have either questions, or maybe you can give some advice. You can share your experience with the device project with Colm from Ireland. If not, maybe the one or the other participant still has to think about the answer. I would give the floor to our experts. Luc, what was running through your head when you learned about the device project?
Okay, I hope you can hear me. That working? Okay, perfect. First, as a thematic expert, and of course, representative of the policy learning platform, I would say that there are some initial answers to the questions raised by Colm and by the device project. So this is not really a question, but maybe a hint to say, okay, there are other projects running and dealing with the digitalization of other sectors. There is the improvement. There would be the erudite projects. Those are 2 that come up to my mind right now. So I will go back to Colm after the workshop and answer also with some written answer, some more detailed answer to this question, and provide hopefully some useful hints, and we'll take that up obviously also in our activities. And I have also questions because I've seen that also projects are dealing with these aspects of stakeholders. So in this case, I just wanted to ask maybe Colm, if when he says he asks how to involve the stakeholders, how others are doing, if it's more like a thematic question, so which are the relevant stakeholders for the digitalization, or if it's more like a methodological questions, how to involve and to commit them, because both questions are popping up in the projects.
Can I answer that one? Yeah. It's the question really is just to hear the experiences of other regions and projects relating to dealing with the smarts or the digital companies in particular, because what we see in our project is that they are very focused in their own market, and often those markets are not within the region. In a lot of cases, they're global markets. So, of course, we have been involved in Interreg Europe projects in the past, and this is a new kind of stakeholder for us. So we were just curious about the experiences of other regions. The way actually that we are handling it, say in Ireland here in the western border, or the Midland and Western region, is that we're working very closely with the government agencies responsible for the development of the digital sector. So we, in this case, we are working through them, and because they are in charge of all the supports, they have good relationships with the companies, and we're depending on them to provide us with good intelligence and information. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for that, Thorsten. I don't know if there are other questions, because otherwise, just looking at the timetable also at the time.
Exactly. Indeed, still the invitation also for the following presentations. No need to be afraid. Just share your comments, not necessarily questions, but if you can contribute to the discussion by sharing the experience gained by your region, by your organization, do not hesitate just to type your comment via the chat. And now, René, actually, we move to your neighborhood. We move to Tartu Science Park, involved in the ESPO project. We have heard about integration of digital technologies in smart specialization strategies. Now, Veiko, back to Estonia. Estonia is well known for e-solutions, and if I'm not mistaken, you have already succeeded in developing policy instruments with your European partners. The floor is yours. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully you can hear me nicely. Yeah, and I have a quick answer to call, and we can of course have a much longer chat about the questions presented. But as a quick answer, then the beer and fun is the quick answer to your question, how to kind of activate and keep your regional stakeholders motivated. The longer answer, of course, focuses on the whys and benefits and so on and so forth, but definitely happy to share our experiences. And even if it's about the digital, I am a great fan of Ireland, so I would prefer to do that in presence, not via digital means. But if we can't meet soon enough in presence, then I will do it via digital means. But in terms of my own presentation and our presentation about the ESPO project, I tried to be generic and specific at the same time, and to raise your interest about few topics and share a few of our lessons. And hopefully, if it raises your interest and you catch something, then feel free to contact me, and then we can discuss it in detail. Let me see if I can change my slides. So our official aim is quite complex, and therefore I brought it out in short in the below. So it's efficient support services, business support services for SMEs. And we are covering this topic on a wider level. So starting from those who design these services, then focusing also on those who are kind of delivering those services, as well as monitoring, measuring, evaluating these services. And last but not least, and in my opinion, actually the most relevant and important, and at the same time the toughest target group, the beneficiaries of those services, or the SMEs themselves. So we must not forget about themselves either. The partnership is quite diverse, both by location-wise and by nature-wise. That we have two science parks. The lead partner is also Poznan Science Park from Poland. So those who are delivering the services. We have two municipalities, And we have a bunch of innovation agencies and funds, and those who are actually kind of financing the services and measuring the impact of these services. So the diversity gives us both problems and opportunities at the same time, because everybody has different capabilities, different capacities, and also different interests. So this is something that you have to really juggle carefully and thoughtfully, how to see that the wolves are eaten and the sheep are healthy, because the differences can be quite vast in terms of resources and in terms of the benefits also that you try to get out of the project. And looking at our features and success and approach, we have the first improved policy instruments, so that should make one of the attendees happy. Laurencio, my regards to you. Then we still have motivated partners, and we are closing or approaching the end of phase 1 now, which means that we are running around 30th or 31st month of our project. We started in 2016, so we are really close to the phase 2. And to have still some enthusiasm and interest left is in no meaning a minor feat. Before I actually describe let's say, one of the success stories which is on the slide, perhaps a few words about our approach. Of course, also the identification stage was in our project plan with self-evaluation, peer reviews, studies and analysis. I would like to bring out the usefulness of peer review, because it's a kind of a cliche, but no man or woman is a king or queen in his own house, meaning that quite often when you are trying to explain something to your policymakers or service deliverers or with whomever you are speaking, your opinion is, I'm not saying it's important, but it's taken with a grain of salt. If somebody else from another European region comes in and makes exactly the same observations and recommendations, then it becomes the golden truth or a very serious matter. So definitely one instrument which can be utilized to your benefit in your regions is the peer review process by other regions. Then we have, of course, the working out solutions part or stage in our project, and we have focused on task forces and a kind of a hybrid model of having a territorial and interregional approach. I will not elaborate much on this one here. Again, you feel free to contact me afterwards to hear about the lessons learned in these processes. But I would stress here the relevance of this regional stakeholder group or local stakeholder group, that if you manage to activate them very early on and keep them tied to the project throughout the lifetime via different events and feeding them information, and even if they are not always super active, this is still one of the means, and you can utilize your project to really have an impact on a regional level. And this is a little bit connected to the good practice that I have on my screen, since one of the digital transformation cooperation process, which actually extended a little bit beyond even the project, started within one project meeting where our German partners kind of had heard about Estonia as a digital startup country, and were curious about our instruments, tools, methodologies, and everyday solutions that we are using and how they are in real life are working. But is it like a really fairy tale that sometimes is heard across the world, or does it have also the shadow side and some kind of not so beautiful angles? And it started as a discussion between partners, continued on a policymaker level because the partners took the information home to their local stakeholder group meetings. And continued via different stages at projects. So actually the top level policymakers met via our project meetings and sometimes even, let's say, beyond the project meetings. So just to get the same level people talking to each other. We had a head of the local municipalities from Germany talking to mayor of city of Tartu, and the local digital academy or e-governance academy heads, in order to better understand where are the opportunities and where are the pitfalls of different solutions. And afterwards, we visited Germany and gave quite an extensive workshop to their stakeholders and actually to several municipalities policymakers, in order for them to understand what does it mean to implement such solutions. What does it mean on resource-wise? What kind of pure financial resource is demanded? What is the human resource demanded? What is the time resource demanded? And this is what I'm describing, that we went one level deeper with the presentation of benefits, problems, progress, and plans. Of course, we didn't cover everything until the depth that now it could be implemented fully in Germany, what has been done in Estonia. But at least we made few steps farther than initially planned or initially aimed. And this is again something which you might be able to experience throughout the projects, and I definitely encourage you to take such cooperation projects and use cases as far as you can. Regarding our aims and our kind of needs, what do we need to learn or what do we want to learn from other projects? Again, human race as such is a storytelling race. We are notoriously bad at looking all kinds of figures and numbers, and excluding some of us, we will forget them relatively fast. But good stories shared with few good pints of Irish beer will work on wonders. So definitely this is something what we are interested, how the good practices have been transferred, how the policy instruments have been improved, what are the good cooperation cases, but also actually what are the bad and the ugly cooperation cases, because sometimes from not working solutions we can learn even more as from working solutions. The regional action plans, again, the same story. Please, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all are welcome. The players involved and their motivation is always interesting, because this is a part where you might have a lot of assumptions and different ideas which are far from reality, and to be able to understand what a policymaker is looking for is very important from the shoes of the person who is implementing the policy or institution who is implementing the policy. And again, last but not least, funding sources and how people are actually delivering the actions and plans to life. And one of the new terms which I recently learned is that the word sustainable seems to be kind of overused in Europe and world a lot, but the same meaning and term is future-proof, how we can make something future-proof. So this is something that we are looking at also. What are the ways how to make the actions and future-proof in our projects? And I believe that is a very short, or maybe not very short, but a brief review of from my side. So thank you, and feel free to find me in any kind of digital environment, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, just web, and connect me if you heard something interesting. Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, Vaiko, for this interesting presentation and this very fruitful example of interregional cooperation between Tartu and the German partners. Indeed, as mentioned earlier, you have the possibility to share your comments, and one comment was made a bit earlier, but I think relevant for all projects, for all regions dealing with digital transformation. Actually, Camilla, thanks for the comment, reminding us that we should not forget about creative and cultural industries when talking about digital transformation, because indeed those new technological solutions, they offer new possibilities, new opportunities for the CCIs, as we call them, new products, new services, but also reaching out to new audiences. Therefore, our invitation again to share your comments, your questions with us. For now, we would like to get our third project, our third speaker on board. We are moving to Finland, so a bit north of Tartu, where Silja is waiting for us, representing the Skills Plus project. Silja, welcome to the session. And well, thanks in advance for sharing your expertise, your experience with us. Please do not hesitate do not forget to activate your microphone. I see you're online. So thanks
Hello.
again. Thanks again for joining us. And the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. So you are able to see my screen, right? And you are also able to hear what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's also true.
Everything.
Okay,
Perfect.
very good, very good. Okay, so I'm presenting you the Skills Plus project that we have been now working on like 2.5 years. So we are in the end of phase 1, almost preparing, finalizing our action plans. And actually, like my experience from the project is only around half a year because I jumped in after the maternity leave. So just to prepare the action plan, and of course to hear the experiences from the peer review and so on. So that's like my personal background on the Skills Plus project. If we go now a bit what this is about, so here you can see the basic things, meaning the title. You can see where we are, you can see the budget, and you can see the lead partner, who is from the Germany. Nadine from the lead partner should be also attending here, but she couldn't promise to give the presentation. So Kainuun Etu is one of the partners. I'm mainly talking on the perspective of the one project partner in this presentation. So the objective of the whole project is increase the use of information and communication technologies by small and medium-sized enterprises in rural areas, which okay, I'm in your terms in the northern Finland, in my terms in the middle. We don't have snow anymore. We had, but not anymore. We hope to have soon again. So this whole area is considered as a rural area. So to improve and increase the digital skills for the SMEs. So what we are working about is, of course, for the local ARDF project preparations, of course, also adaptation of the existing funding guidelines, creating new funding guidelines potentially for some regions, facilitating the access to funding for the SMEs by informing different ways of working, development of the strategies, and then, of course, the transfer of the good practices. So this is the way to achieve the objective. We are 12 project partners across the EU, as you can see in the map. 11 regions, then 10 EU member states and Norway, and then we have the lead partner from Germany, as I already mentioned. And here you can see more details about the partnership. Who are we? What kind of organizations and so on. But this is the information that is also available in the Skills Plus website, so I think it's not worth to go these now. While I think more interesting would be this kind of experience sharing side. And here I'm now talking about the perspective of Kainuun Etu, so my own organization. So this is like our viewpoint to this issue. As we think the different member states and the kind of, could you say, level of the digitalization in general in Finland, we are like in the rather good level, meaning that we have the connections, we have the websites, we have the rather good level of the digital skills of the people and also in the companies. Rather good level. I'm not saying perfect, no, but the basic level is rather good. So in the Skills Plus, we were thinking that what would be kind of the next level of the digitalization regarding the Kainuu SMEs. First, I need to mention also that Kainuun Etu, we are like municipality-owned regional development company. So Kainuu municipalities are owning us to, in order Kainuun Etu to develop especially the SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises in Kainuu region. So that's the role of Kainuun Etu. So there were kind of two problems to be addressed in the Skills Plus to add value to the current level of the ICT usage and digitalization level of SMEs, and then to adopt the integrated approach leading to new business model eventually. So these were kind of the starting points. And as Vaido from Estonia mentioned, the peer review was also very valuable for us, meaning that it was exactly what you were saying, that we here, of course, know like quite a lot what is the situation, but when there are some people coming who are asking questions, who are really thinking, who are questioning, who are going through different documents and interviewing people and so on, and then drawing conclusions about our situation and development needs, that is very good for us. And these problems and this next level of digitalization need came from the peer review also. So then we found the good practices as like a solution for us, and of course we have heard this Industry 4.0 methodology also from like other circumstances. So that was what we were thinking, that for the next level for Kainuu, it would be that we kind of present the Industry 4.0 methodology to Kainuu, not all businesses, because the capacity to absorb is different, but to those who are able to absorb and try in that way to really go to the next level and take the next step gradually, first with some businesses, then with more, and then with the time we hope it then goes kind of as a normal base, but there we are talking about years. But that's what we are now doing. We are finalizing the action plan at the moment, and then also seeing how the Industry 4.0 methodology, how to start with that, and how the companies feel and are prepared and willing to develop and adapt. So that's the viewpoint from Kainuun Etu and from Kainuu. What I mentioned, the peer review was very, very helpful for us. And in addition, we have had a very close cooperation with our regional council, who is then responsible for the local project funding also. So we have been very, very closely discussing with them about our idea and about the approach and about the next steps and so on. So, and they have basically, we have together formed the regional stakeholder group, and now we are like extending it also because this is now proceeding. So that's the viewpoint from Kainuu. And then this slide, the last slide, is prepared together with the lead partner. Now more from the perspective of the whole project. So when thinking about the whole Skills Plus project, the success side was considered to be the learning effects of the peer review, as I already mentioned, and apparently the same experience is also what Vaido mentioned in the other project. Then, of course, the exchange of the good practices, and then the influence of the project on political strategic orientation. Then when we go to this learning effect of other Interreg Europe project, as it usually is, it's more the lead partner who is then responsible for the cooperation with the different projects. So that's what they concluded, that approaches of other projects for change management concerning digitalization of SMEs, and then also supporting structures for SMEs in rural areas. So that's the project viewpoint to the topic. So I thank you, and if there are any questions, happy to try to reply.
Okay, thank you, Celia. Thanks for sharing the experience of Kaino with our audience. Indeed, just to mention that all the questions raised by you, we will share them. Looking at the time, we may not have the possibility to tackle all of them during the webinar, but together with our follow-up email when sending the presentations to you, we will also share the questions of our audience with the participants. But now, Luc, I would like to give the floor back to you. We have heard about the experience gained by 3 project partnerships. Maybe you can briefly reflect. I think quite interesting solutions, quite interesting approaches out there in Europe.
We have a few minutes time to discuss a bit more with the projects, but we have to close in time, of course. But we could see from the 3 presentations, I think, but also from the other projects from which we know involving with the digitalization of the industry that we cover most of the topic, most of the priorities, as we could see from comparing with the scoreboard, and we address topics like the digitalization of other sectors, which is very important. Industry 4.0 was named, which is obviously a very, very important topic. We also cover the digitalization of business processes, the change management, because it was mentioned briefly. It is not only about technologies, it's about change, and this is more complex than technology. And we address also the support and the development of ICT companies, ICT startups, and the business ecosystems for that. And we could rapidly see also during the discussions today, even if they were limited now due to time, that we have answers to provide to the questions. So the questions raised by Colm could find first answers, and there are good experiences being transferred. And so the presenters actually mentioned already what we want to do and what we want to highlight in the policy learning platform, that the peer learning is key, and this is of course very, very important. So that is what I would emphasize right now before closing, let's say, and maybe giving a few information on the services we are doing. So we don't have much time, but to see, okay, the good stories like Vido mentioned, you can find also on hopefully soon on the good practices. If not yet, I will come back to the different presenters to maybe to learn more and to support the highlighting those good practices, and this will all could be found soon, hopefully in on the policy learning platform. We also, as you mentioned, Thorsten, will come back to the presenters with respect to the questions, because for all of them, we could see that there are other projects dealing with similar topics and having potentially something interesting to talk to them. So this is for the good thing. And like Vido mentioned, we will also try to organize some options to share the ugly stories, and but this is then for another context. And maybe just quickly showing to everybody what's coming up for us in the policy learning platform. So we are will organize next month a workshop, a thematic workshop on fostering entrepreneurship and business creation. There are many projects dealing with that, and also several of the digital projects, let's say, dealing with that part too. The policy brief on business accelerators, news and articles will come, and hopefully also mentioning the good stories we learned about today, the good practices. There are already a lot of them in online, and more coming up. And yeah, the presenters, they mentioned that, at least the ones with some experience in the project, so Celia and Vido. For non-project members, for managing authorities which are not taking part already in projects, our call for peer review is still ongoing with a deadline by the end of the month. It still leaves some time to make use of that kind of contribution, and we heard that it's very useful, and we experienced that already. And yes, that would be it for today from my side. But yes, anytime, of course, you can take contact with me, with René, and we will answer some of the questions as well as possible in the next days. And Thorsten, here, why I give back to you to the studio for our closing words.
Yes, thanks, Luc, for this wrap up. Indeed, the studio in Lille. Well, first of all, I think we need to thank all participants, all speakers, Colm from the Device Project, Vido from ESPO, and Celia from Skills Plus for your contributions. Colm, we have not forgotten about your questions to the participants, to the other regions. As mentioned earlier, we will share them with our follow-up messages. Indeed, what I have seen over those last, well, slightly more than 60 minutes, there's strong interest also among the projects to get connected, to learn from each other. And of course, this is fully in line with the objectives of our policy learning platform. We see many projects, Interreg Europe projects, working on digitalization. And we would like to make sure that you are not working in parallel, but that you complement and learn from each other. So also from my side as the thematic manager, thanks to all of you for your participation in the name of René and Luc, our thematic experts. And last but not least, our team in the back office, Natalia in Warsaw, Karine, Raluca, and also Josephine here in Lille. Thanks to everybody, and stay tuned with the Policy Learning Platform. Have a nice afternoon. Bye-bye.